Peasant Productions presents the Math of ESP, why it works even if you don't. This message is personal to the anonymous group. I guess organization would be too much to say of us. And in some cases they would consider it an insult to be called an organization. For those of you that are out there doing the various things using the anonymous mask, you know, the map you represent of the world's population and the situations. I consider myself a member of Anonymous. I'm a man without a country, and I'm one of the few logical people on your planet that is not contemplating suicide. The rest of you are spending so much time worrying about lost emails and who sat on whose lap and what piece of pizza got eaten by what person and stuff like that, that while some of that stuff is obviously necessary to bring out because it's corruption and it needs to be exposed, I believe, Anonymous, you need to worry about the real issue, okay? You will not survive what you don't pay attention to. If you're walking down the train tracks, you got your MP3 player blasting away, you got your ghetto blaster on your head and blasting away, and you don't hear the train coming, the sucker's going to take you. Clean as a whistle. Bang! You're hit, you're dead. Okay? So, I have a whole series of this Math of ESP. I have the Occupy ISS _ INT Space Station, okay, International Space Station. I am the person that created that by writing a letter to President Reagan in 1983 to be stolen from me on purpose so that they would build this International Space Station. It started with 7 different countries, folks. It is not in any way, shape, or form a single person thing, a single world thing. Well, it's a single world thing, it's not a single country thing, okay? It's not possession of the United States. Now, most of this time I've been quietly in the background watching what's going on, because in 1974, see this little thing here, Fukushima radiation, okay? Fukushima happened. If you take the time to study nuclear reactors, you know that it takes about 14 to 20 days for a nuclear reactor to cool down enough to take fuel rods out of a running reactor, okay? Therefore, the conspiracy people running around screaming it didn't happen, they took the stuff out last night, threw it on pallets, and ran down the street with it, are full of BS, okay? It can't happen. You take the fuel rods out of the reactor, they go into a graphite container that is immediately taken to a cooling pond, and it is then taken out of the graphite container and placed in the cooling pond for about 10 years before it's cold enough to put in a 55-gallon cement, steel, lead, whatever they want to pretend is going to protect you, barrel, and then toss it in the ocean or toss it in a mine shaft, okay? That rots in about 20 years, and you again have plutonium leaking out all over the place, polluting your groundwater, or in the case of Fukushima, which 3 reactors melted all the way through all of their shielding and are currently in your core, or not in your core, in your crust of your planet, okay? They are in the substrate beneath the power plant. It is not possible for humans to dig under and contain it. It's dumping radioactive wastewater, of course, by the simple fact that you have a flow going through that way that humans can't stop. And you know, ice walls don't do anything and stuff like that. They failed miserably. So you are in extreme danger due to Fukushima. Fukushima, Chernobyl, all these kind of places have put so much radioactive waste in your planet, in its atmosphere, in its water, on its land, and all of its ocean, that you have shut down basically your entire ecosystem, your entire food chain, and you are now in the processes of being in your last days of a planet as the current environment dies and the planet simply has to recycle itself, okay? Now, not only do we have all this nuclear fuel, and notice here I put nuclear power plants, okay? Your first nuclear power plants were built somewhere around the 1930s in Germany for the Nazis, and the later 1930s for the United States, so that by 1940s we had the atomic bomb, okay? Hanford in Washington State is leaking. It's one of the oldest, it's one of the most contaminated. I believe it's either number 1 or number 2 on the United States' most polluted super sites, okay? It is leaking into the Columbia River. That, and by the way, the first reports I heard of the leakage actually hitting Columbia River were in the early 2000s, okay? So stop and think about that, okay? This is 2018, 18 years ago, Hanford was leaking into the Columbia River. And people say, oh, no, it's not, don't look at the data. Don't look at the tanks dissolving. Okay, well, cement tunnels are collapsing now. The radiation is so deadly in that area, okay? So that your whole Northwest is getting wiped out. That's polluting directly into the Pacific Ocean on the eastern side of the Pacific. Fukushima is nailing it on the western side of the Pacific. You have all of that Pacific damage done by war generals wanting to, oh, that bomb blew up so well, it's like fireworks, let's do it again. Yeah. Over 1,000 nuclear explosions just to test that they really did work. You really could push the button and the thing would go off and blow up. Damn, I'm in Mexico. Some places you can buy firecrackers still, light the sucker, light the fuse, and yeah, it'll explode. Your generals are so stupid, they don't think that a nuclear bomb that works by only one reasoning, one logic, one physics, it has to be tested thousands of times to make certain it's going to blow up every time because they want to build about 100,000 of these little bombs and missiles and rockets and stuff. So you're quite dead, okay? You got 1 million of these 55-gallon barrels. About 70% they're saying, 70% the spiritual realm. Yes, Revelation 2:17, I listen to them. They're part of the reason I'm doing this for you folks. I'm getting up on my butt and talking. About 70% of those 55-gallon containers are leaking in the cold trenches of your oceans, the places where your food chain starts, okay? So you got mutation by radiation. You have mutation by all of your chemical factories, oil mining, coal production, stuff like that, dumping raw poisons into the environment. You have the plastics and the microplastics. Oh, by the way, in the chemical department, you also have the medical, big pharma people dumping billions of gallons of pollutants into the water, creating superbugs and stuff. Okay? So you are quickly running out of things to do anything to save yourself, while you are quickly building a list of things that destroy. Now, another thing here, sulfur dioxide, SO2, is the more major important thing about global warming. Yes, it is produced by humans, and there's a map you can go find on the internet, and you can see China's just awash with this stuff coming out. Eastern United States, where all those coal factories and stuff are at. Just all kinds of SO2 coming out and emissions going on. But you'll also notice that it's also coming from all the volcanoes and volcanic vents, geysers, undersea vents, hot springs, all this kind of stuff. They're pumping this SO2. SO2 goes into your upper atmosphere and causes a cooling sensation, while in the lower atmosphere, down here where we exist at, it creates a heat barrier, a heat well, I should say. It gets hotter in the lower atmosphere, it gets cooler up above. You have weather extremes happening as these two are interchanging and interplaying. And, of course, you have all this loss of animal and plant life. And like I said, you've got this absolute, because remember, the SO2, it's also the one that causes the most acidity to your oceans, your lakes, your waterways, your streams, your marshes, your swamps. Now, Anybody that has studied any physiology, biology, knows that a life form, plant or animal, mutates when you change your acidity and alkaline balance, when you add chemical pollution, or when you add radiation. Oops. So you see, Anonymous, you guys like to talk, you like to do your denial of service websites and stuff. You want to argue about how you don't need to take any kind of leadership form of yourselves. Go listen to my talk about a government system that relies on high school graduates who get booted out of the government after they do your 4 years, and nobody gets to be a lifer in politics. And understand there is possibilities of doing something to form some kind of an organization enough that the mass of you who are more awake, more intelligent than the populace of the United States, England, France, the people that like running around, jumping up and down for Big Macs and Starbucks. Most of the anonymous people are a little bit more intelligent than that. I do understand that there are also probably, for every real anonymous person like me, there's probably about 10 CIA trolls out there, 10 FBI trolls, a couple of MK1s, and MK, whatever. England's got theirs, and China's got their anti-anonymous, trolls and all that. They're all doing it. They all want you to shut up and sit down and do nothing. So stop and consider what I'm offering with my Occupy ISS_INTSPACESTATION. Damn, I got dyslexia and I can still spell once in a while. But think about what I'm trying to accomplish with a major overthrow of what's happening on your planet. I'm leading a revolution. You want to join my little revolution, feel free to. I do need funding. I do need money to try and do stuff. Obviously, when we get to the point of actually building factories and trying to get the heck out of here, I'd like to be doing that in a couple of months from now, of course. But, hey, humans are always late to dinner, so, I don't expect you guys to figure it out. But, any of you want to at least check out what I'm saying, going up into space, clean air, clean water, the vacuum of space for tempered metals, tempered ceramics, tempered glass, tempered plastics. You got fruits and vegetables that we can be dropping, airdrop back down. This is all covered in other videos. You can have wood and forest up there. You can have cotton. You can have silkworm. All this stuff, and you don't have to have pesticides because you find a little bugger that ain't supposed to be there. That aphid's eating your tomato plant. Well, space the sucker, right? Poof! Instantly gone. Instantly cured. Ain't no problem there. And bamboo and hemp for carbon fiber, that's an idea of mine I discussed in one of my other things there. Again, they're very rapid growing plants. They are very useful in what all they produce. They have many, many products from them. And if you're in space, you must have greenhouses to be using for water purification, air recycling systems, nice place to go sit and relax, okay? We're not talking about space as your government tells you where it's all bad and horrible. We're talking about freedom, okay? We're talking about intelligent design here. So, anyway, for those of you anonymous, yeah, I let my face show. I don't hide behind masks. I got a long habit of success in my Revelations 2:17. You're welcome to step in front of the Christ entity and challenge it. I'll know that you're on the spiritual plane, don't worry. I can go drop in and see what's happening. But I also got an awful lot of contacts of information that just might be helpful at this point in time in the human race's ceasing to exist time period. Anyway, have fun.